Hi everyone, Brayden here from Fox Ridge Run and the Bee For You Buy beekeeping series, where I review everything we use in the bee yard to see if it's worth the money or not. And today I'm reviewing the frame feeder to see if it's worth having in the bee yard or not. We're going to go over all the pros and the cons, and then finally I'm going to talk about if I think it's worth the money or not. So let's get into it. The frame feeder is really easy to use. All you do is take out one of the regular frames in your hive and it slides into its place. You then fill it with sugar syrup and the bees access it by crawling inside, usually using built-in ladders or textured walls like this one. Because it sits inside the hive, there's no extra equipment hanging off the outside, and it only takes a couple of minutes to install. One of the biggest benefits is that it's protected inside the hive, so there's almost no risk of robbing. That makes it great for feeding during a dearth or when you're trying to pack weight on your hive in the fall. Frame feeders also work really well for smaller setups like nooks, splits, or single deeps. You don't need to add a bunch of gear, but you can still give them enough syrup that you don't have to refill them every single day. Another great thing about the frame feeder is since it's inside the hive, things like cold weather or rain won't affect the syrup as much. That means you can feed your bees much later into the season than you could with something like a hive top feeder or an entrance feeder. And last, it's very affordable. Most frame feeders cost less than 10 bucks or so, which is awesome if you're on a budget like I am. Now, there are a few cons to the frame feeder, so let's talk about those now. First off, you have to remove a frame to use it. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it does take away space the bees would normally use for brood or honey, and that matters, especially for a smaller hive. Now, this is my biggest problem with the frame feeder. It's the refill process. Every time you want to check or top off the syrup, you have to open the hive. Doing that every couple of days adds a lot of unnecessary stress on the bees, especially when there are other feeders that let you check levels without ever cracking the lid. This is another problem I do have with the frame feeder. Even though designs have been improved, there's still a risk of drowning bees in the syrup. I've opened up a few feeders and found a handful or so of dead bees at the bottom. It's not nearly as bad as it used to be, but it's still something to keep in mind. Now, one little trick I do is I push a couple of sticks down into the syrup. And if any of the bees fall into the syrup, they can hopefully grab hold of the stick and pull themselves up and out. And it seems to help out a lot, so give that a shot. So the real question is, would I recommend the frame feeder to a new beekeeper? And my answer is yeah, for the right job. They're great for smaller hives or for doing quick feeds during robbing season. They're cheap, easy to use, and they work. But if you're feeding a big hive often, the constant opening and checking might get old fast. You'll probably want to try something with easier access. Now, I'm trying something new in this series. It's a rating system, kind of like other channels do, but for beekeeping gear. And I'm giving the frame feeder a solid 7 out of 10. It's safe, simple, and budget friendly. But the space trade-off, refilling hassles, and drowning risks knocks it down a few points for me. But that's all I've got for this one. Let me know in the comments what you'd rate the frame feeder at, and if you've used it in your own bee yard. And before you go, don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow.